Today I'm going to be asking a series of questions relating to victimhood, victim mentality, how to get out of it, what to think about it. What is a victim mentality? A lot of these are questions that I get asked often from my clients, and so we're just going to dive right in. How do I know if I'm letting my past define who I am? Ask yourself the question, do I limit my options? Do I limit my decisions? Do I let my past make decisions for me? Because if your past is making decisions for you, choosing things for you, saying you can't because of whatever happened in the past, then yeah, you are now a victim to your past. So if you're going to do something and you say, oh, I can't do that, ask yourself, why can't I do that? Is it because of something that happened in the past? If yes, not everybody is somebody threatening to kill you. Not everybody is actually a tiger with her cubs. Most people are just people trying to exist. But we tend to assign a lot of blame to those people. That leads us into the next question, which is, why do I feel safer blaming other people? It's a great question. If you think about it for just a second, you'll probably say, well, it absolves me of responsibility if it's somebody else's fault. Why do we feel safer if it's not our fault? Because we probably learned that if something is our fault, then that is a hit to our value. That is a hit to our worth. And if it's somebody else's fault, we're going to be okay. Maybe you learned when you were a kid, if it's your fault, like I remember one time when I hit my sister in the head with a vacuum, and it was one of those little popper vacuums. It wasn't a big deal. And I was like 4, right? Anyway, but I remember bumping her in the head with this vacuum, and my mom said, did you hit her? And I said, no, because I was scared that if it was my fault, then I'm not worth as much. We attach worth to so many different things. And so if it's somebody else's fault, if somebody else hit my sister in the head with a popper vacuum, then I'm okay. My value is intact. But if it's my fault, then I feel like I'm worth less. Often, it is somebody else's fault. What about those who have been abused, who have been victimized for real, somebody who's actually been mistreated? If it's a genuine abuse situation, guess what? It's not your fault. And blaming the other person is okay. But even if we blame the other person and we say, oh, well, I am the way that I am because of that person, then what we've done is we said, my life is still in their hands. For example, I was sexually abused when I was a kid. And for years, I didn't listen to country music because my abuser did listen to country music. And when I was in a car where country music was being played, I felt like jumping out of the vehicle. I was like, I cannot handle this. I can't listen to country music because of this. And if I blamed my abuser, then if I told people, like I was dating a girl and I was like, hey, I just don't listen to country music and this is why. Man, she avoided country music like the plague. But the truth was, I wanted to get to like country music. I wanted to like it. I didn't like that I was still a victim to my abuser from when I was like 6. I want to be able to say, you know what, this did happen, but I'm in charge of how I feel going forward. I'm not going to let my abuser from when I was 6 years old make my decisions when I'm 26 years old. And this is tricky because often it feels good to stay hurt instead of moving on, because if it's somebody else's fault, staying hurt shows that it was somebody else's fault. Let's say you're dating somebody and they hurt you. And so you're like, I got to go over here and I got to play the victim. We don't say that out loud, but subconsciously we're thinking, I got to play the victim so that my friends and family know that it was that person. Let's say somebody in a relationship hurts you and betrays you, and that feels emotionally like a knife to the shoulder. Staying hurt feels safe because if I pull that knife out and I stitch it up and I clean it up, then nobody's going to know that it hurt me bad. And often it feels good to stay hurt because we want to show people how much we were wronged. We want to show people that we were the victim. If we're the victim, again, we feel like we have more value. And if we heal too quickly, people might think, oh, well, it wasn't that bad then. Even if it was. Which leads us to the next question, which is it wrong if I kind of like the attention that I get when I talk about how unfair things are? You say, oh, they treated me this way. Oh, it's just not fair. And people say, oh my gosh, you poor thing. And you're like, yeah. And it does feel good. It feels like we finally have value. We're like, okay, yeah, somebody sees me. Somebody understands me. But the problem is that it does feel good, and that can get extremely addictive. We say, I just can't do it because of this thing. And they say, oh my gosh, yeah, you're right. I'll do it for you. You realize, oh my gosh, I can get out of work if I feel this way. I don't have to do as much if I feel anxious. I get a lot more attention. I get more love. So is it wrong that I kind of like the attention that I get when I talk about how unfair things are? It's very human. It's very natural. It's very easy, but it isn't in your best interest. And it isn't going to help you progress and grow. It's just going to make people feel like they are responsible for you all the time. and they're probably going to resent you for it. And you're probably going to resent yourself for it. If you start telling yourself, I'm incapable because of this thing, then you're going to start believing that you're incapable because of that thing. And the more you believe that you're incapable because of that thing, the less you're going to do it and the worse you're going to get at it. But if you tell yourself, no, I am capable. I don't need attention from this. I don't need people to know that I was stabbed in the shoulder by that X. I want people to know that I am healing. I am taking responsibility for myself. I am taking responsibility for how I feel. And I want the way that I feel now to be based on what's actually happening right now. Why is it easier to hold on to anger than it is to forgive the people that wronged us? One of my favorite things that I've ever learned came from my dad. He asked me, when you're angry, what is it that you're trying to signify? What is it that you're trying to communicate through your anger? And I said, well, I'm trying to communicate that I'm right. They are listening to me. If I get angry, then they realize, oh my gosh, he's serious. And he's right. He said, okay, and are you right? And I was like, maybe I'm not right in the anger, but I am right on the point that I'm trying to make. He said, truth plus anger doesn't equal more true. And that just hit me so hard. Truth plus anger doesn't make it more true, but we feel like it does. And so it's easier to hold on to anger than it is to forgive because we're trying to communicate a point. We're trying to show people that we're correct. We're trying to show people that our boundaries have been crossed. When it comes to anger versus somebody who really victimized you, like I said, my abuser, for example, if I was angry with him for forever, which I kind of was, it's way easier to hold on to anger because I'm trying to show the world that I'm correct. And forgiving often makes it feel like absolution. We have this lie in our society that says, if I forgive this person, then they get away with it. If I forgive this person, then they feel like they win. But I want to just change this paradigm here because forgiveness does not mean absolution. Forgiveness just means I don't want to carry this with me into the future. And so what can we do when we feel like we're falling into the victim mindset is say, you know what? I don't actually want to carry this mindset with me. Yeah, but so-and-so did this and this happened. And if I forgive, yeah, I feel like they're going to get away with murder, but I'm also going to be happier. I'm going to like myself more. If I learn how to forgive, then I'm no longer in their power. If somebody wrongs you and it makes all your decisions going forward, then they are still wronging you, but it's your fault. It's like they stabbed the knife in originally, but you're moving it around every once in a while just to make sure that it doesn't get better. At some point, you need to be the one to take responsibility, pull the knife out, forgive that person, not because what they did was right, but because you don't want to be hurt anymore. Let it go. And what's weird is the more responsibility and ownership that we take over our lives, the more in control we feel. It's much easier to be calm. It's much easier to make decisions correctly with a clear head, as opposed to making decisions out of stress or anger or rage or whatever it is. Anyway, this was just an attempt at a new style of video because I'm tired of writing scripts and I feel like they don't really convey the way that I actually speak. And so I'm trying this just so that I can get better at speaking just by having the question in front of me and I'm going to answer it. And hopefully I can get better and better at talking to a camera. It's the whole story. It's been great talking to you. I hope you have an awesome day.